Absolute Batman from Scott Snyder, Nick Dragotta is the talk of the comic book universe. He's taken things to pretty ridiculous levels. The size of Batman himself is ludicrous. The Batman logo looking like it does is absolutely befuddling. He's got a big-ass axe that's part of the logo. He's got Doc Ock arms that are masquerading as a cape. They're Doc Ock arms. He can walk on them. They grab people and stuff like that. But what could Scott Snyder and Nick Dragotta do to take it to even more ludicrous, ridiculous heights than what they've already done, established in the first issue? That's right. We're going to get a new Batmobile. Just when fans were getting used to oversized designs of DC's new Absolute Batman, the creative team is further raising the stakes. The new design for DC's Absolute Batmobile has officially been revealed, making it clear that this version of Batman is about size, power, and brute force. DC Comics unveiled the new Batmobile in DC's Absolute All-In Universes panel at New York City Comic-Con. And I will be honest, my wife has definitely told me and explained to me that size doesn't matter. It's how you use it that's really impactful on this. But clearly to Scott Snyder and Nick Dragotta, size is everything. We've got an enormous Batman with an enormous logo, and now he's got an enormous, it's hard to describe it as a truck, but it does appear that Scott Snyder is trying to take everything to the next level. And when we say next level, we mean big. It almost doesn't look like a vehicle. It looks like one of those traveling cities. I watched a movie in theater about 4 years ago about traveling cities. That was pretty stupid. We'll see how this one goes out, but you know what? If you want to go to ridiculous, if you want to go absolutely absurd, fine. Let's go absolutely absurd. I can roll with it as long as the comic book is somewhat fun and you don't take it too seriously, because it's clear by a lot of these designs and with what Scott Snyder and Nick Dragotta are doing, they're not exactly taking this as a serious concept. So I say, let's roll with it. I don't believe Scott Snyder will be able to out-weird Garth Ennis and Liam Sharp in Batman Reptilian, but it looks like he's going to give it the old college try. The publisher confirms readers will only need to wait until the arrival of Absolute Batman #2 on November 13th to see it in action. And one look was all that we needed to confirm that this new Batmobile or Bat-Tank, Bat-Truck is a perfect fit for the new engineer who lifts philosophy of the Absolute Universe's take on Bruce Wayne. With Batman's groundbreaking debut in DC's new continuity, his lore has been rewritten in a number of bold ways to account for the darker Absolute Universe. One of the most notable changes is his brawnier design, which has sparked controversy for being such a departure from his usual look. Well, I do think the size of Batman is admittedly gonna be a conundrum, a mystery for Scott Snyder and Nick Dragotta to kind of weave into the story, because he is legitimately like 7'2", 350 pounds, and it's going to be really hard for him to maintain his, conspicuous nature of what Batman does by design of the character itself. And now that he has a truck that's actually the size of a house, it's probably going to be very difficult to find a garage or even a bat cave that will actually fit that sumbitch in it. But that's the new idea here. The engineer who lifts. He's really smart, but he's also really big. I thought Doc and myself and Yule and Jim and Aaron Sparrow all had a better idea, where he's the world's dumbest detective. And he uses a viewfinder to look at clues. And he's like, oh, it's a fucking dinosaur, because he's so stupid. Obviously, they're trying to make it really, really smart. It's kind of weird that the way they're doing this, because it's supposed to be like a real departure from Batman. And it certainly is, because he is large. And his Batmobile is absolutely enormous. But a lot of the other key traits that you would think would be missing from the character because of his new status quo of not being absolutely rich billionaire with his own R&D department within Wayne Tech might make this Batman have to be more resourceful, but that does not appear to be the case. The Absolute Batmobile has the advantage of matching this version of Batman's brutal, violent fighting style without the luxury of state-of-the-art Wayne Tech to fall back on. Bruce spends his days working out and building muscle to land heavy blows on enemies. Likewise, in Dragotta's art, his giant truck is seen knocking cars away with ease, showing that it packs as much of a punch as its driver. Gotham's criminals have no hope of slowing down Batman or his Batmobile, thanks to their bulky sizes. High-speed chases are about to reach a new level of intensity as Batman launches into action with his Batmobile. One of the weird things is he's supposed to not have resources, right? You took the $1 billion away. You took away Wayne Tech. He doesn't have the mansion. You know, he doesn't have Lucius Fox and all those wonderful little things going around him, but he still has all the toys. It's almost like Scott Snyder was just like, we need to remove all the money, but I like the toys. So we're going to keep the batarangs. We're going to keep the knives. We're going to add a fucking big-ass battle axe. We're going to have a Batmobile that's bigger and more expensive than any Batmobile ever created, and he's going to be running over police officers. Not exactly superheroic, unless, of course, all the police officers in Gotham PD are corrupt and trying to kill him or something like that. But even then, you know, murder isn't exactly a heroic trait, certainly not a superheroic trait. We've already seen him kill like 25 people, and I don't think that he can not murder somebody while driving around the streets of Gotham in that big-ass truck. Of course, he's going to have that in all like, oh, that was a close one, but nobody died. Are you sure about that? You know, that's one of the things that ended up ruining the Zack Snyder take on Superman is like, what about all the people he just murdered in all those buildings while he was fighting Zod? Why didn't Superman think about that? He could have went to a less populated area, and now we've got Batman just driving through the city of Gotham, fucking tanking people with his moving fucking house that has a big ass plow on the front so that he can destroy police cars and everybody else's cars too. It's not like you can only hit police cars. And I think the idea of taking away all these things, in that respect, I think Scott Snyder has failed because it's clear he just wanted to take the money away. He didn't want him to be a rich billionaire. He wanted him to be poor, but he still wants him to have a billionaire's toy set of all the things that he can build. It's because he's so smart, but you have to be more than smart to build a fucking house with a big ass plow on the front of it. You actually have to have resources. You can't just steal that shit from anybody. Like, you have to have a fabricating company. You know, they don't make plows that fucking big. You'd have to do it yourself. You have to be able to build all this stuff. You have to have the parts. You have to have the means to acquire like all the fucking technology to pull that thing off, even if you are that smart. You can't go down to like the fucking local dump site and build shit like this. So I just think it's kind of weird. If you were going to break him down and distill him to being, you know, a streetwise kind of big street fighter kind of guy that was really smart still, but he didn't have the resources, I would hope that he would be, I don't know, a more resourceful character and being able to work with this environment, maybe not having all the wonderful toys to get around Gotham and fight the criminals. But it's clear that we're not removing that element to it because that's not what Scott Snyder wanted to remove. He likes all the technology and all that stuff. He just didn't like him being rich. What I think is weird. I think it's a really strange thing. The more I see of it, the more it kind of annoys me. I hope it stays good, though. While some fans might still be wary of this large Batman and this even larger truck, it makes sense for this version of the Dark Knight to have a vehicle of this hulking size. The Absolute Universe's Batman is an engineer who constructs the buildings of Gotham, so he's around dump trucks more than sports cars. While billionaire Bruce Wayne gets a sleek ride befitting his wealth and status, working-class Bruce feels more at home in a truck. Snyder and Dragotta continue to make inspired changes to Batman's status quo, and the Absolute Batmobile proves to be one of the most daring yet. Yeah, you see this stuff from Screen Rant, and I'm like, I don't know, is that fucking AI? It kind of reads that way, but also, I couldn't disagree with you more. This isn't an inspired take. An inspired take would be a Bruce Wayne without money, not even having a car, and having to figure out how to get around the city, taking public transport or outfitting something out of basically scraps and nothing and making it into something that he could get around the city. But no, let's give him a fucking house on wheels. You know, that would be more technically advanced than a regular Batmobile. You know, let's have him create, you know, fucking, you know, Doc Ock tentacles with no technology and no money to actually be able to do so. I think a lot of these changes are very, very superficial. He just wanted to remove the money, but he didn't want to remove all the other stuff. He's like, what? But it's badass. He's huge. He's got Doc Ock tentacles and all that stuff. And I'm down for that. I'm down for a little bit of fun, but don't be slurping this guy and telegraphically fucking filleting him when you can clearly see right through why he's making these changes and the fact that he didn't want this to be a Bruce Wayne with less means. He's got just as many means as he had before. He's just, you know, they say he's poor, but he's got all the technology and advantages that you could ever want. Yeah, I think it's absolutely ridiculous, But that is kind of what Absolute Batman is, a ridiculous comic book. Judging by the first issue and seeing shit like that, and I'm willing to roll with it. Like I said, hey, as weird as Batman Reptilian is, after 2 or 3 issues, I threw my hands up and said, fuck it. I'm just going to go with it and enjoy what's happening here. But if you want to go too weird, if you want to go too ridiculous, you do open up yourself that you better not make it stupid. You better not throw in elements that are going to throw people off, because it will, come to the forefront much easier in a ridiculous series like that than maybe even like a mainline Batman series and stuff. So interesting stuff. If you're interested in the new Absolute Batmobile, there you go. It's a house on wheels with an enormous snowplow on the very front of it, and he'll be murdering police officers and destroying the entire fleet of GCPD cop cars in the process, because he's what is he? He's a bug in the system. He's the chaos of Gotham City, which feels like he's taking more of a Joker role, but we shall see with that one. If you like what I'm doing here and you want more conversations about Absolute Batman and Absolute Wonder Woman and Absolute Superman, you're going to get that here on Thinking Critical YouTube. But if you want more, Thinking Critical Patreon is the place to be. There's a link in the video description. We have all kinds of podcasts, deeper dives into things of this nature, and a whole lot of fun going on there. Hope to see you very soon.